stop and mingle with everyone. We left Annapolis at 7 o'clock, and we had hit a couple of accidents, and traffic was terrible. But we kind of put the pedal to the metal to get here. I think I'm right on time though to start talking at 8:30. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. Keith, thank you. It's great to be back in Baltimore County, and wonderful to be here with you this morning at the Chamber. I'm looking around the room, where my friend Al Redmer, a member of our cabinet from Baltimore County, is here in the back of the room. Here. Good to see you. Well, thanks again for having me here. As some of you probably know, I'm a lifelong business man myself. Spent 30 years in the private sector, active in the Chamber, never held elective office. And in 2014, I was really just frustrated with the direction that our state was heading. And like a lot of people in this room probably, I was concerned that 43 taxes in a row had taken $10 billion out of our economy and really hurt the business community. We lost 8,000 businesses and 100,000 jobs. And as a lifelong Marylander who loves this state, who had grown up here and started a family here and started my business here, I just thought somebody needed to try to do something about the direction that we were heading. And I decided that we couldn't find anybody else to do it. So I stepped up. It wasn't out of any desire to be anything. I didn't really have a desire to be a governor, but I felt an obligation to try to do something. And that's really what motivated me to run. As a Republican in Maryland, most people didn't take it very seriously. We only had one Republican governor in 50 years. So when I first mentioned it, I was going to run for governor, people just kind of laughed. Or they said, "What state are you talking about again?" But as we got out there and met more people, most people in Maryland, whether they were Democrats or independents or Republicans, felt the same kinds of frustrations that I did, and they really wanted to see us put Maryland on a new path economically. And I said our whole focus was not on divisive issues and not on things that typically divide people, but on things that would bring people together. And everyone seemed to be concerned about what was going on with our economy. They were concerned about jobs. They were concerned about taxes. And so that's what we've been focused on. It's what I promised to do. About a little over 2.5 years ago, well, first of all, so thanks to a lot of people, we surprised folks. And I was outspent by $20 million in the bluest state in the country. And we pulled off the biggest surprise upset in the nation, thanks to a real bipartisan effort. And had just as many votes from Democrats and independents as I did from Republicans, people that wanted to put Maryland in a new direction. And about 2.5 years ago, I stood on the steps of our historic state house in Annapolis, and I raised my right hand to take the oath of office. And as I was doing that, at the very same time, we were changing all of the state highway signs to say, "Welcome to Maryland, we're open for business." I think they used to say, "What's in your wallet?" And that was just the start of it. I went up to my office for the very first time, and I killed about 150 job-killing regulations that the previous governor tried to push through in the closing hours of his administration. And then we went out and had a heck of a party, inauguration with 10,000 of my closest friends. I stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning trying to take pictures with every one of them and shake their hands. And then 4 hours later, 8 a.m. on the very first full day on the job, I submitted the first balanced budget in a decade. We eliminated a $5.1 billion structural deficit. And then we got to work. We put together a heck of a cabinet, like Insurance Commissioner Al Redmer, who I mentioned a moment ago, and lots of other folks from the private sector. We have a whole new leadership team, cabinet secretaries, agency heads, most of which were business people who knew what it was like in the real world and knew how government decisions affect people like you and how important small businesses are to our economy. And so our message throughout the whole government was how do we help businesses grow, to create more jobs for our citizens and more revenues so we can pay for the services that people need in the state. And I'm happy to report that we've been doing exactly what we said we were going to do. We've gone from losing 100,000 We had the best year for business last year in 15 years, best year for job growth in 15 years. We have the highest rate of GDP growth of any state out of all 50 states. And our overall economic performance has gone from 49th out of 50 states in 2014 to, as of just a couple of weeks ago, number 7 in the United States of America. That is the best economic turnaround of any of the 50 states. We're really proud of the progress that we've been making, and I mentioned about the traffic I was in this morning coming up here. We're working on that too. After 8 years of really neglecting our roads and our highways, we inherited 69 structurally deficient bridges. $1 billion have been drained from the Transportation Trust Fund, which made it almost no roads were getting fixed. We've replenished the whole money from the trust fund. We made it so you can't rob the money anymore. We've got $14.8 billion into our transportation plan. We have currently, we're fixing all 69 structurally deficient bridges, and we are moving forward on every single top priority in every single jurisdiction all across the state. We currently have 1,000 road construction projects currently under construction, totaling $9 billion, and that's going to make a real difference as well. I'm looking for my notes here. In Baltimore County, we've got $320 million in new road projects. We're putting in funding for the I-795 interchange at Dulfield Boulevard, the I-695 project to widen I-95 to Maryland 122, the Maryland 140 project to widen northbound from Painters Mill Road to Garrison View Road, I-70, I-695 triple bridges. We're to move forward on replacing those. So we're making real progress with respect to making it a more business-friendly state. The economy is starting to improve, and we're just getting started. I've only been on the job for 2.5 years. I don't know much about this government thing, but I'm just trying to do what I did in the private sector and do what you say you're going to do, and work hard and try to focus on the important things. And we've reached across the aisle in a bipartisan way to try to accomplish these things. The vast majority of Marylanders seem to be happy with the direction that the state is heading. The recent polling showed that there are 6% of the people in Maryland that strongly disapprove of the job that I'm doing. And it seems like every single one of them is running for governor. I'm not sure. It's like 10 of them or 12 of them. If they're not running for governor, they are in the legislature. We're going to do the best job we can and keep working hard for the people here. As far as the job creation, Baltimore County's been doing great. One of the first things I did during the campaign, actually, I went to see McCormick, who was talking about moving to Pennsylvania. They were really serious about it. And I went to see them. Can you imagine Old Bay being made in Pennsylvania instead of here in Maryland? It's an iconic, more than 100-year-old company that's synonymous with our state. But they were so frustrated. They were going to move. And I went to see I spoke to their whole board of directors during the campaign and tried to convince them on what we were going to do to change things here and how it was going to be a better place to do business. And at the end, the board, liked what I had to say, and the chairman says to me, well, I just love everything you had to say, and I appreciate it, but you're a Republican, and you're not going to be governor. So we're still thinking about moving. The day after the election, I went back to McCormick. It was 3 months before I became governor, and told them we needed them to stay. They kept working on it, and they committed to stay and expand. Here in Baltimore County, 800 jobs here in the county, and we got another 1,000 new jobs at the new Under Armour e-commerce center at Trade Point Atlantic. Another 150 jobs at the FedEx ground also there. Just more and more companies we could talk about, but the business community in Maryland is experiencing a turnaround. Businesses here are feeling better about our economy. Anybody feel better about how things are going in Maryland? And the companies are expanding. They're committing to open up new new companies coming in, both small and large. I think we've had 3,000 some new businesses come to Maryland in 2.5 years. So we've got another 1.5 years to go and a lot more work to do. And then, possibly another 4 years after that to try to keep Maryland heading in the same direction. So our focus has been on the economy, but we've also had record funding for education 3 years in a row. The biggest improvements on the Chesapeake Bay and the environment that have ever happened in Maryland. We've accomplished quite a bit, but we're just getting started. I came in with a plan and a good team about what we wanted to accomplish, and we were focused on the economy and creating jobs. But as you know, in life sometimes things kind of hit you from out of the blue that are not part of the plan. And 89 days after I was governor, we had the worst violence in our largest city break out in 47 years with the riots in Baltimore. It was a challenge. I mean, they didn't really teach a course at baby governor school about what to do if your largest city's on fire. But in the first few hours, 400 businesses were destroyed and 170 police and firefighters were injured, and the city was in real trouble. And I immediately declared a state of emergency and brought in 4,000 members of the National Guard and 1,000 police and firefighters, and we restored calm and peace and order to the city of Baltimore. And now I am teaching a course at the National Governors Association on how to deal with a crisis like that. And then, of course, some of you know, about 60 days after that, I went from focusing on the economy to hearing 3 doctors that I just met for the very first time tell me that I had a very advanced and aggressive cancer that had spread all over my body. And that was something that kind of hit me from out of the blue. But I can tell you, really, I had tremendous support and prayers from people all over the state, and a great team of doctors. We have incredible hospitals here in Maryland, and doctors and nurses. And I went through kind of a tough battle. 6 months of 24-hour-a-day chemotherapy is not what you want to do in your first year in office. 18 total months of that and 4 surgeries, but I'm 100% cancer-free and complete remission. So I'm thinking 2.5 years, we got all these things done while dealing with riots and battling cancer. The rest of the time should be really easy. It should be all downhill from here. I don't see how it's going to get much tougher. Maybe they'll set locusts in or something, I'm not sure. But when something like that happens to you, it really changes your thinking and your perspective on life. And I probably learned a lot about life and about myself going through that battle. The one thing that really stood out to me is just that life is too short, and we all need to make the most of what we've got here. And I happen to believe that every single one of us, each and every day, is given the opportunity to accomplish something great. And thanks to your support and thanks to the great work you're doing in the business community, I think we have accomplished some great things. And I just want each and every one of you to know that I am going to keep giving this job as your governor everything I've got every single day that I'm given. So thank you very much. God bless you.